further ado, Sandy, I'm going to turn it over to you. And yeah, if you want to start presenting, let's go from there.
That sounds fantastic. Let me get this started. Wonderful. So I encourage anybody who has any questions to ask them, and we will be happy to answer. Steph, you can see my screen okay?
Yes, you're looking good. The title slide is looking good.
All right, perfect. Wonderful. So I'm to dig into this, and because I think that it really truly is a great time to launch or relaunch a travel business. I have been in the travel industry for about 20 years, and I joined the travel industry. If you do that math, I actually joined the industry right after 9/11, which everybody said to me at the time, are you sure this is what you want to do? Are you sure this is the industry that you want to get into? Especially since I was coming from working for a large company that's corporate job that worked with a lot of the Fortune 10. So I was passionate though about travel, and so that's what I wanted to do. And I think now is the same thing. I think is a great time travel business or to relaunch your travel business if you've sort of started but not really where you wanted to be. It's also a great time to just make tweaks to your business. So let's take a look at why I think this. So first of all, what we're talking about here is, and throughout this presentation, what I'm talking about is people who want to start a travel business that they're going to be serious about, not a hobby, not a pick it up and put it down like knitting, but somebody who's going to start a business that they're serious about. You may not be full time in the business. You may also still be working in a job to pay the bills, but your ultimate goal is probably for this to support you and or your family in a way that you can walk away from that 9 to 5 job that is draining you or that you just don't feel passionate about anymore. A lot of the people that we see get into travel through Gifted Travel Network are very successful in their other careers, but they just don't have the passion for it anymore, and they want more flexibility. They want more control over their lives. They want to do something that they love, and travel is something that they're passionate about. So, really, one of the reasons this is the best time is because you have a lot of decisions to make. When you're a travel entrepreneur, you have an incredible number of things that you need to decide up front, but you've got some time now. We all have lots of time now. We have lots of time to do things that we didn't think we'd have time to do, like, finish Netflix. But instead, starting a travel business. And the reason that when you take time to do it, you want to do it right from the beginning. So get this right, and that you're actually making money, and that you can be ready for a second wave season. It is coming. The travel industry is coming back. Americans are not going to stop traveling. How they travel may be different for a little while, or it may be different for a long while. We don't know that yet. But we do know that travel agents are in demand because travelers are going to keep traveling. Gifted Travel Network is part of Virtuoso, and Virtuoso tells us all the time that there is far more demand for luxury travel advisors than there are advisors to meet that demand. So the demand for travel advisors, and when I say travel advisors, I'm talking about people who provide a high level of service, who really help with the planning, who are more like consultants. It's not booking agents. It's not people who just handle the computer part, get you booked, help you find a deal, move on to the next person. These are service people. The demand for these travel advisors has been high, and even more people are going to be looking for advisors since this big, as Steph said, implosion, because the OTAs, the online travel agencies, we've all seen it. They've gotten a lot of negative press. I mean, 7-hour hold times with Costco. Are you kidding me? So there's been a lot of people who've said, this doing it yourself thing is not as great as maybe I thought it was. And on the opposite side of that, travel agents have received a lot of positive press during all of this. So there are going to be more people who are going to be looking for an advisor than ever before. Now, I wanted to go ahead and just offer this right up front. This is something that you may have seen featured on Host Agency Reviews, but we created a guide for called Travel Agent's Guide to Navigating Turbulent Times. It's just a free document that if you would like to download it, you can go to agentsguide.com and you can download that document. And it has some information about what we're going through now, how to survive it, just may give you some good insight. But from this point forward, let's just put all of that pesky today's world behind us and focus on the future and how things are going to be amazing. So that's travel agents with an S, travelagentsguide.com. So let's talk about, if you say, I'm passionate about travel, I really want to do this, I've always wanted to do this, I want to have more freedom in my life, want to have more flexibility, I want to have my own business, and I want to focus on travel. Just like any other business, there's a right way to do it and a wrong way. The right way will lead you to success, reward, and profitability. And that last one is something that I think we don't, as an industry, talk about enough. You know, it is okay to make money. It is okay to make a lot of money. And that's one of the things that is a difference between one way to start in the travel business and other ways to start in the travel business. And that is that it will lead to profitability. You can make enough money in the travel business to support yourself, and you can make enough money to still travel well. You're not going to just flip a switch and turn this on and suddenly the money starts rolling in. This is not that kind of a business. So just know that up front. But travel does have a lot of tremendous more intangible benefits to it, like normally, and Steph and I were talking about this earlier, normally traveling. Normally we would be traveling more, but right now we're not, but that will change in the future. But the most important decisions that have to be made when you're starting a new travel business are these next three critical decisions are what most people just skip right over. They skip right over this part and they go right to learning about products and saying, I'm a travel agent and want to start helping clients. But I think that these three decisions, I know actually, these three decisions are the ones that make a difference between those people who are making money and making good money and putting good money in their pocket and those people who are struggling to get by. They are, who are you going to serve? In other words, who's your client? What makes you different? In other words, what is it you have to offer that client? And third, how are you going to reach your ideal client? Because you need a marketing plan. And you can't, it's just not enough. And I'm amazed at how many people still think this is true. I'll go on Facebook and I'll say, I'm a travel agent. If you want to travel, call me and I'll be happy to help you. And they think they're going to make enough money to reach to support themselves, or they think that their friends and family will book with them. And anybody who's on a call who is, and this always makes people laugh, so I hope this gives you a chuckle, but anybody who's on the call who's currently an agent who's booked their own friends and family will tell you they're the worst clients that you will have. You should always refer your friends and family to somebody else. They will be much nicer to somebody else than they are to you. So that's just the reality of the travel industry. Steph, you've probably heard that from people too. That
Yeah.
friends and they're the worst clients. So these three decisions truly are critical. In all seriousness, figuring out who it is you want to serve, what makes you different, and how you're going to reach that client. I sort of liken this to the restaurant industry. So if you are an amazing cook and your friends are always telling you, oh, you're so amazing and you should start your own business, just because you're an amazing cook doesn't mean you have the skill set to be a fantastic restaurant owner, because it's not just about the food in the back of the house, it's about the front of the house too. But also, if you were going to open a restaurant, you need to determine up front what kind of restaurant you're going to open and what you're going to serve, who you're going to be reaching. So you set your menu prices and you want to be in the right neighborhood. If you're going to try to open a fine dining establishment, that's a completely different location search than if you're going to open a taco place. Now, taco places are amazing. Who doesn't love tacos? But that is a different kind of business model than fine dining. So first, picking a specialty is this is the part that most people jump over. And this is the part where I often hear people, agents say who've been in the industry for a long time, I never picked a specialty. I handle every kind of travel there is. I work with everybody that comes along, and I'm very successful. And my response to that is that that's fantastic, and I'm very happy that you're successful in that. But maybe if you did have a specialty and you narrowed your focus, you would be making more money, and maybe you wouldn't have to be working as much because picking a specialty means this the reason this is the first important first step is it means it drives your marketing. It helps you understand who you're reaching. And the bottom line is specialists make more money, a lot more money. You can see this in the wonderful salary surveys that Host Agency Reviews does. And as a matter of fact, in the most recent one that's available on the site, the average agent earned $40,377, but the average luxury travel agent earned $58,688. That is a significant difference between the two. Specialists just simply make more money. There is riches in niches, so be cognizant of that when you're starting a business. It does not limit you, but it expands your opportunities. So a lot of times people think, well, if I say I'm a luxury travel agent and my neighbor wants to book a Royal Caribbean cruise for her family, I can't help her. That's not the case. Having specialty doesn't determine what you can't do, it determines what you're good at and it drives your marketing. If you have somebody who comes to you and wants to do something that's outside that specialty, of course you can help them. But it also means that if you have somebody who comes to you that's outside that specialty and you don't want to spend your time on that, then you can use this as a reason to refer them to somebody else. Because I don't think that travel advisors give enough weight and value to their time. You only have so many hours in a day. You only have so much energy in a day. And you really need to be very protective of that time and of that energy and do what you love to do. And that's one of the reasons why I think fees are such an important topic in the travel industry and why I'm a firm believer that you should be charging professional fees. And having a specialty lends itself very much to doing that. People will want to work with you because you're a specialist. And I know that some of you are saying, nope, won't work in my industry with my specialty because of what I do, the product I specialize in, can't charge fees. I promise you, there's not a specialty that you can come up with or a type of travel that you can come up with that you can't, that there's not somebody out there successfully charging fees. It just depends on the approach. Is everybody going to pay your fee? Of course not. But everybody is also not your ideal client. And it's okay to turn a client away. And it opens up space for you to receive more clients who are your ideal client. Now, when it
Sandy,
comes time, yes,
oh,
go ahead.
sorry. Just really quickly, I was going to let you know we just published the first, yeah, well, last night, the latest fee survey. And for the first time ever, over 50% of agents reported charging fees, it was 52%. So,
Wonderful.
yeah,
That is wonderful. That is really good news because I think that that fee goes a long way to not only communicating your professionalism and that you're serious about what you do. It also you have to get to a place where you're confident in what you do as a professional and as a consultant to be able to charge a fee. Because if you don't believe you're worth a fee, people aren't going to pay it. You're going to put it out there, and there's going to be hesitancy all around it. and people are going to pick up on that and they're going to say, no, I'm not comfortable with that. And I do hope that more and more agents will see the value in charging fees. When I first got into this industry nearly 20 years ago, I used to see people say all the time, I work for free. And it just made me cringe because you shouldn't say that. You should never say, I work for free, because people who work for free don't have any value. And there's a lot of evidence to suggest that people will have more confidence in somebody that they have to pay than somebody who works for free. So I'm glad that 52% is the number. Thanks for sharing that stuff.
Yeah.
So when it comes to picking a specialty, this is the hard part for people is, well, I don't know what a specialty exactly is, or how do I pick one? I always tell people, first of all, start with your passion. Think about who you want to work with or what product or destination you want to sell. Now, just saying I'm a cruise specialist is not really a specialty, because that's way too broad, because you've got everything from super short, cheap cruises to world cruises and everything in between. And as anybody who sells cruises knows, you've got so many different types of cruise lines that are very unique. So being more specialized is important. And starting with your passion, you can really be hyper focused on what it is that you want to do. I talked to an agent one time who um, just does ancestry research travel for groups of people who are going to England, Scotland, and Ireland. That's all she does. And that's great. But for most people, it's probably going to be broader. It might be luxury travel. It might be luxury cruise travel. It might just be river cruise travel. It might be luxury travel for families with young children. There's lots of different directions you can go in, but you need to figure out what you want your specialty to be. Because once you do that, then you can start to identify what makes you different. You can craft your message because you know who your ideal client is. If you know what it is you want to serve, then you're going to be able to say, okay, this is who is going to benefit the most from what it is that I have to offer. And once you've identified that ideal client, then you can craft your core compelling message. That core compelling message is so important, because when somebody says, and we've all heard this, well, why should I work with a travel agent? You're able to answer it in a way that speaks directly to them.
Well,
Now,
just really quickly,
sure.
so we had a question come in from Cody Klein. Hi, Cody. I've
Hi,
seen you on
Cody.
our 7-day setup, asking questions. And he's asking, what's the best approach to explaining if you're charging fees? What would you recommend, um, that an agent, how should an agency approach that?
So, what we teach at Gifted Travel Network is sort of a method called the How I Work conversation. And so, when you first meet somebody, you have back in the day, we used to try to encourage people to do this in person. That's not really possible right now, but you could do it through a video chat or a phone call and talk to the client, find out more about what it is that they're looking for. You have a conversation with them so that they get your knowledge and expertise in a particular direction. And so you're building rapport with them through this conversation. And that conversation is probably going to take 30, 45 minutes or whatever. Making sure you want to make sure of two things. One, that you're a good fit for them and that they're a good fit for you. And if at the end you feel like they are, then that's when you say, I would love to help you plan this trip. Let me explain to you how I work. And you would explain to them everything that you do, and simply say up front, and for that I charge a fee of $250 or $500 or $1,000 or whatever it is. And stop talking and wait for them to respond. 90% of the time, if you've done a good job of demonstrating your value and building rapport with this client and you're a good fit, you're going to hear, great, how do I pay you for that? And then, of course, you need to have a system in place for doing that, because you always collect the fee before you do the work. But secondarily to that, you've put it up front. You're not hiding that fee in well, I'll add something on here to this booking and that booking. You're saying up front, I charge a fee and this is how much it is. And you will run into clients that you think are a perfect fit for you who say, oh, I would never pay somebody to assist me with a booking. Then you just say, well, thank you, very much for your time, and I wish you best of luck in finding an agent to work with, and be very genuine in sending them on their way. But I think that should be a conversation you have up front and be very open and direct about it. Some agents post their fee structure on their websites. Some of them don't and just sort of have it in their head. And some of them are very strict, or not strict, but very organized in what their fee structure is. So if it's this or this or this, these, and they have different amounts. But a lot of them, it's just in their head. And they just say, based on the conversation, this is going to be really complicated, I'm going to go with 500. Or maybe not so complicated, I'm going to go with 250, whatever the case might be. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, that was great. Thank you.
Sure. So after you've done all of this stuff, we haven't even come up with a business name yet. And this is the thing that people do first, usually. I'm going to get a job. I'm going to start a travel business, and they come up with a name. Your name needs to be reflective of what you do and needs to appeal to the market you serve. If you don't know what it is that you're going to be doing and you haven't identified the market you're going to serve, how could you possibly come up with a business name? And that's where people get the cart before the horse. They just want to come up with a name and just get going. Once you come up with the name, then, and only then, can you come up with your branding. And please don't DIY your brand. I go to events and do these big trade shows, and I get a stack of business cards like this, and probably this many of them are Vistaprint templates that all look the same. You know what that says to me? You don't care much about your business. You're not putting love into it. Every time you pick up your business card, you should feel amazing about it. You should be happy with it. You should love the paper it's on. You should love the colors of your brand. And that's why you don't DIY this. You hire somebody, and it doesn't cost thousands of dollars to do this, but you hire somebody to come up with a brand. But a good designer won't help you with coming up with a brand until you can tell them who your target audience is, what makes you different, what's your core compelling message. All those things need to come first. So it's all super important part of the process. Don't DIY. Don't DIY it. And then after you've done those things, then you can create your website. You can go and buy your URL for your website and start putting everything together so that it is brand cohesive. One of the most important things that you need to do is to make sure that everything that you put out there is brand congruent, so that it speaks to your brand, especially if you have aspirations of working in luxury travel. You need to have an incredible brand. And working with clients, and you have a business name, but then you email them from a Gmail or Yahoo or AOL account, that is not being brand congruent, and it damages your brand in the eyes of the consumer. So all these things are really important part of the process. Now, once you've gotten clear on this, you've figured out what your specialty is going to be, you've figured out what makes you different. Now you can create your marketing plan. You can focus on how are you going to reach your ideal client. You need to know who they are. You need to know where they hang out virtually so that you can get in front of them. So, for instance, if you were going to do golf trips, obviously you need to be involved in different golf-related organizations. If you were going to focus on travel for boat owners, then you need to be part of an organization, whether it's a Facebook group or whether it's local physically there, maybe a marina or some sort of a area where boat clients are going to be. How can you get in front of them? What is it that you offer them? Why is it that they should book with you? When I first started in travel, the internet was obviously becoming more and more of a big deal. And somebody that I worked with, the answer to the question of, well, why should I book with you instead of booking with the internet? Their answer was, well, ask the internet that question. It was, and you were supposed to say, well, how am I supposed to ask the internet that question? And the answer was going to be exactly. I can answer the question, but they can't. I always thought that was kind of dumb. But the point is, you need to be able to articulate what it is that you offer those individuals. Simply put, why should they book with you? Just saying I'm a travel agent is not enough. You've got to specialize, you've got to have a focus, you've got to be able to be really clear about what it is that you have to offer. And it's critical to have a marketing plan because it guides all of your decisions. You're marketing to build know, like, and trust with a specific audience. A shotgun approach to marketing isn't going to work. And you need to be very strategic about where you choose to be. If you're going to take out an ad in some sort of a publication or sponsor some organization, do you know that the people who are part of that are your ideal audience? If they are, great. If you're not sure about that, then why would you spend money on that? And a lot of times we see travel professionals and they just throw money out at different things, hoping to see what will stick.
So we had another question come in, Sam,
Sure.
from Valerie Huffman. So she's kind of wondering if before you join a host agency, if you should work on the different components of branding, like website, business cards, marketing materials, or like in general, should they work on that before they come with a host, or specifically with GTN, if they is that something that you help your agents with?
That's a great question, Valerie. And I'm actually going to talk a good bit about that, about what we do with that, because yes, we do. Um, Through our Travel MBA program, we do lead you through all of these steps and all of this process with a mentor, so that you can get started knowing nothing except that you're passionate about travel and you want to start a travel business, and end with a beautiful brand that is incredible and that leads to success. And we've done that for a lot of travel entrepreneurs over the years. And many of them now are reaping the benefits of that, and including and being multi-million dollar sellers of travel, selling travel. So I definitely am going to talk a good bit more about that. It's a great question, Valerie. So one of the things that's so important, and to touch on Valerie's point, I don't think anybody should do this alone. I don't think anybody should get into the travel industry and not be with a host agency. Being on your own means that it will take you a lot longer to be profitable. You will make more mistakes, you'll be more frustrated, and you will have less opportunities because you're operating in a vacuum. You don't know what you don't know. And a lot of times people think, well, if I go with a host agency, it's going to cost me money. Well, yes, you are going to have to spend money, but what you get for it with the right host agency that's a fit for you is going to be much more important than the money that you invest in that. You can't start a business without making some sort of an investment. And if you're trying to start this travel business on a tiny shoestring, like you don't want to spend more than $100, it's going to take you forever to become a successful business. You've got to invest in some things in order to get this business off the ground. And being part of a community has immeasurable benefits, but it's got to be the right community, which is why a site like Host Agency Reviews is so very important. And that's why we send people there all the time.
Thanks, Sandy.
Well, we send people there all the time. Because look, if you go to host agency reviews, Steph, you probably know the answer to this question. I started to try and count how many host agencies were listed on there, and I kept losing track. Numbers are not my thing.
I've got an easy solution for you on the homepage, because I had that problem too. On the homepage, it automatically adds up and tells you how many host agencies. It's something like 140 or 160 or something like that. Different
Okay.
programs.
So I knew there was over 100, but I didn't know exactly how many. But that the 100 is a lot. So you start with host agency reviews and read the reviews that are there, and just like any kind of review, oh, they're fantastic, love them so much. That doesn't really help anybody know anything. Just like if you read a restaurant review that said, oh, I love this restaurant. Well, I need to know why you love that restaurant. Is it because, your cousin owns it, or is it because you have amazing food there every time and here are your favorite dishes? Really read the reviews. And then use that information and set up an appointment to talk to different host agencies. What you're trying to do is find a fit, and specifically, are their top vendors a match with your goals? And even though there's a list of vendors on their host agency reviews profile, you can't really tell who their top vendors are from that list. So you need to have a conversation with them. So if, for instance, if you are wanting to be a luxury travel advisor and you talk to the host agency and they tell you that they're top, that they're Disney specialist and they also sell Royal Caribbean and some all-inclusive resorts, et cetera, that's not going to be a fit for you. Likewise, if you really want to specialize in Disney and you want to also do some cruises and they tell you that their number one focus is Europe, FITs, that's not going to be a match either. Does their consortium meet your needs? Is because a consortium, just the reason that you join an agency is to get great benefits that's more than you, and bringing together the collective wisdom of the all of the agents involved, and also bringing together all that buying power. That's the reason an agency joins a consortium, to even further expand on that community and that buying power. But there are different consortium for different purposes. So that's something to consider. And I always like to ask people, what makes you different? Why are you different than the other host agencies? They should be able to articulate that. Just as if a client said to you, what makes you different as a travel advisor, you need to be able to articulate that. And also ask them how they would describe their community. Some communities are very competitive and very fast, and some are much more supportive and collaborative, and some are much more quiet than others. So ask them how they would describe that. And there's no good or bad, there's only fit or not fit. Because just like at Gifted Travel Network, we are not a good fit for everybody, but the people that we are a good fit for love us, just like every other host agency on host agency reviews can say the same thing. If you are a good fit, it's a wonderful thing. But that's what's most important, is that they fit you and they fit your style. And one more thing about style: some people love the idea of being part of a host that has 10,000 members. Some people cringe at that thought. Some people love the idea of being with a host that has 20 members. Some people don't. And also think about, does it matter to you if it's a host agency only? That's what we are at Gifted Travel Network. We were created from the ground up to be a home for hosted agents, travel agency owners working under their own brands. Some of them are dual. They are brick and mortar. They have employees who are agents, and they also have ICs. So does that matter to you? And also, you also need to consider, do you want to work under their brand, or do you want to have your own brand? Because that's a consideration too. But if you're just getting started, back to Valerie's question of earlier, you don't just need a host, you need a training program. A host agency's job is to provide support and infrastructure for experienced agents. It's not their job to teach you to be a travel agent. That's what a training program is for. And as a new agent, what you need is a training program and a mentor. And all training programs, just like all host agencies, are not created equal. And these are 4 areas I think that you really need to strongly look at when evaluating a training program. First, their curriculum. Is it designed to help you be a travel entrepreneur, or is it designed to help you be a travel agent working as an employee in an agency? Those are very different skills, because a program for travel entrepreneurs is going to help you figure out your brand, your name, how to market yourself, how to attract clients, because attracting clients is the number one struggle for most travel advisors. I know so much about so many destinations. I know everything there is to know about these cruise lines and these resort chains or this destination, but I don't have anybody to sell to. So those are very different approaches to developing curriculum. So you need to find the one, again, that fits you. Community. Are you learning on your own, or are you with a community? Or is there another group of people who are going through this with you that you can learn from one another? Even if your specialty is going to be luxury family travel and somebody else is going to be adventure travel, you can still learn from one another. And there's still a lot of crossover with what you do. The third thing is mentorship. I think mentorship is so critical. If you think about over your lifetime who you've really learned from, you've probably learned the most when you've had an amazing mentor. And so you need to know if mentorship is included, but you also need to know, what does that mentorship look like? Is it a person who is the mentor for the program, or or do they have, oh, here are 5 or 6 agents who are also still selling agents, but they'll help you out if you have questions. That doesn't work as well in my experience, because people always feel very bad about, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to ask them more questions. I already asked them 3 questions this week. I don't want to ask them 4. Maybe I'll call somebody else. And that stunts your development, and it delays your success. Selling is another question. When can you start booking travel? What commission level will you earn while you're in the training program? And are those clients or bookings yours to keep? Because in some cases, you can book and you can earn commission, but you don't get to keep the clients that you're working with early on. So those are important considerations while you're talking about it. And anytime you're looking at a training program, you know yourself, you know what kind of learner you are. My husband, you can give him a book and he can read the book and he could, rewire our house. I don't learn like that. I want to talk to somebody about something. I want to ask questions. I want to engage with somebody. And so you need to find a training program that meets you where you are, so that your learning style is taken into consideration when you're making this decision. And then I want to talk about 3 things that I don't think are as helpful as you might think they are when looking at a training program or a host agency for that matter. First is the leads program. I think leads programs are a great training exercise when you get started, because you get a lot of different stuff thrown at you. You get to figure out all kinds of different things, research products you've probably never heard of or really aren't going to be specialized in. But the problem with leads programs is a lot of agencies will tell you that their average closure rate is around 10%. Well, that means 90% of the time you are wasting your time. As I said earlier, you've only got so much time in the day and so much energy as an advisor. You could be spending your time much more. It would be much more beneficial to spend your time doing something else. You've got a lot of decisions to make as a travel entrepreneur, a lot of things on your plate. You don't want to waste your time with that. The other thing, if you really like the idea of a leads program, is ask, are those leads yours? So when the client loves you and comes back, can you book them again, or do they have to go back into the leads program? A lot of times you don't get to book them again. They have to go back in the leads program, and if they happen to pop up on for you, great. If not, they're not your client. The other thing is a website. A lot of times people think, oh, I just want a website I can turn on. I can type up a paragraph about myself. There's my headshot. Whew, I'm done. But a cookie cutter website really doesn't do anything to tell the story of what you do, what you have to offer, what clients or how clients are going to benefit from working with you. So I think it's super important that you keep that in mind, that a website can actually be detrimental to you because it probably has a lot of things on it that don't relate to you. It might have, let's say that you're going to specialize in luxury family travel, and there's a lot of feed on that website for mass market cruise lines. That is telling a mixed message to your clients. So that's not as helpful as you might think. And websites are not crazy expensive to have developed completely customized for you. And please, all of you listening, if you already have a website, go to your website when we finish and check for a couple of things. One, is your name actually on there anywhere? I'm amazed at how many websites you can go to and there's no name anywhere on it, no human being's name anywhere. Is there a way to contact you without filling out a form? That's super important to people. And finally, is there a good description of you and what it is that you have to offer on that website? Or is it just your headshot and maybe your name? So those are ways that you can improve your website right now. And then finally, a dedicated booking engine for the agency, not just on the website, but a lot of times people think, oh, they have a booking engine. Every host agency has booking technology. Nobody's going to sign you up to be an agent and then say, oh, and you're going to need to go find some way to book things. Everybody has booking technology. Some have amazing platforms that they have created, but it depends on what you're going to be doing. Like a lot of our agents do luxury FITs, particularly in Europe. If you're working with a in-country destination specialist, say in Italy, they don't have a booking engine. So everything that you do with them is going to be customized and they won't be using a booking engine much anyway. If you're going to do a lot of more, especially cruises and more mass market stuff, you're probably going to be using the something like Sabre Cruises or the cruise lines website. You don't necessarily have to have a dedicated booking engine. So just thought about that. So I know I've thrown a lot at you. What our solution to all this is for people starting is the Travel MBA program. We created the Travel MBA program from the ground up to train travel entrepreneurs how to launch a successful travel business that will be rewarding, that will be profitable, and that will be enjoyable. You won't be working 16 hours a day, 7 days a week to put $20,000 a year in your pocket. That's not the focus. All the things that we talked about today that I've mentioned all come from that. We help you from the very beginning. We have a coach that works with you to figure out what your brilliance is, what is your core message. We lead you all through that. We talk about everything. And because it's so robust, it won a Gold Magellan Award from Travel Weekly for travel agent training program. So we're very, very proud of that. The Travel MBA program is, as I said, exclusively for travel entrepreneurs. It's designed for people who want to focus on service. It's not a good fit for somebody who says, I just want to do this as a side hustle occasionally. It's fine to do it part-time, but if you're serious about it, like you would be a full-time business, that's different because you're focused on service. And what it really does is it ensures your first year puts you on the path to success. So if you're brand new starting out, or maybe you've been doing this for a few months, or maybe even a few years, but you haven't broken through that sort of what we consider the minimum sales threshold for success, which is $100,000, then this is a program designed specifically for you. And as I said, we help you find a specialty. We give you all the tools and technology that you need. You have hosting with Gifted Travel Network and full access to Virtuoso right from the beginning. And we include 12 months of mentorship. We have an employee, Lisa Fletcher, who's been in the travel industry for a long time. She had her own successful travel business for a long time until she decided to give it up and do this mentoring full time because she was doing that part time. And she said, I love this so much. She's our mama bear and she takes care of the people in that Travel MBA program. And so she hosts twice a week coaching calls for the people in the program. She answers questions, whatever they need, she's there for a whole year. So it doesn't mean that you have to wait a year to start your business. It means the first year that you're in business, you have guidance, you have support, you have Lisa, and that's really everything. Of course, we have a comprehensive e-learning program. These are all modules that we created. There's over 50 of them specifically to teach you about different aspects of running a business, running a travel business in particular, and being a travel advisor. And one of the best things about the Travel MBA program is that it's part of Gifted Travel Network, which has the most amazing supportive entrepreneurs you can find anywhere. They all readily share resources, information, ideas. They cheerlead for one another. They're very engaged in the private member community. They readily help one another in whatever way anyone needs. It's really a wonderful group of people. And as I said, it does have hosting, so you can start selling whenever you're ready. And for some people, that means pretty fast. They're ready to jump in and start selling. And some people say, you know what, I'm going to get my ducks in a row and I'm going to get all my processes in place and be really comfortable with this, and then I'll start selling. Your decision. You do it however you want to. And of course, full access to Virtuoso resources right from the very beginning, because Virtuoso is an amazing tool and an amazing resource for you and for your clients. So we want to make sure that you have that from the beginning and learn how to use it. The investment for the program is $49.97. You can pay that in full or make 12 payments. So it's not a $100 online course. Download it and get started. It's not cheap because it's very robust, and you're paying for that time and that mentorship and all the good things that you get with being part of that program. So I have seen in the past 2.5 years since I've been with Gifted Travel Network, people come through this program and they are enthusiastic, they are engaged, they're excited, and they're successful. Um, we have multiple people in our top 20 sales list who came out of this Travel MBA program because they are building a really strong business. And in some cases, they're already selling more than $1 million because they know what they're doing and they know how to do it. They're not just floundering around trying one thing after another, throwing spaghetti at the wall, hoping that something will stick. So if you're interested in that, you can go to getyourtravelmba.com to find out more about it. Or if you, especially if you're somebody who's started and you're not sure if this is right for you, you can go to talktogtn.com and schedule an appointment there, or you can email us at joinus@giftedtravelnetwork.com, either one, and we'll be always happy to have a conversation with anybody who's thinking about getting into the travel industry or who's in the travel industry and what they're doing is not working and they're looking for options or ideas. I'm always happy to talk to people and always happy to answer questions. And so, Stephanie, you may have some questions there from people that we can that I can answer.
Yeah. So if there's any questions, again, just write them in the comments of whichever platform you're on. Sandy, I do have a couple questions. So can people join GTN or Gifted Travel Network without going through the Travel MBA program?
Great question. Yes. We take members based on an interview process to make sure that we're a good fit with you and you're a good fit with us. You can also go to that talktogtn.com to schedule a call. And as long as you're an experienced advisor selling $100,000 or more a year in the previous 12 months, then you can join without doing the Travel MBA program. If you don't have that sales level, then you would have to join the Travel MBA program to be part of the network.
Okay. And for agents that are listening, what would be a good descriptor of the type of agent that is a good fit for you?
Oh, that's a great question. So the person who is a great fit for us is somebody who is passionate about wanting to help their target community to plan travel. They're passionate about developing a business, whether they're going to do it part-time or full-time, because we have a lot of people who start with us who are still working, and maybe their goal in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years is to have this business to the level that it can be their full-time job, either because they've reached a certain retirement threshold with their company, or that's their time frame. So they're very serious about what they're doing, but yet they're a lot of fun, that they are engaged, that they like being with other people who have the right mindset. and that they want to learn more about being a successful travel entrepreneur. We talk a lot at Gifted Travel Network about your numbers and how to make more money and how to be more successful and what kind of marketing works. And so we talk about business a lot. Of course, we have updates from all of our top preferred providers. But if you're the kind of person who's like, I don't care about any of that businessy stuff, then we wouldn't be a good fit for you, because we're very focused on the entrepreneurial aspect of travel. But I think the most important thing for fit is that you be a person who is really loving what they do and very enthusiastic. Hey, we all have bad days, but that you are very excited about working in travel. Even now, this has not been a great few weeks for a lot of our people with booking cancellations and rebooking and all that, but that passion for travel is still there.
I had a chat with Isaac Simrat from
Mm-hmm.
Travel Insured.
Trevor Ford?
Yeah, he had said something interesting about Gifted. He said, they're more than just a host agency. That what they really are is business coaches and sales coaches, because they're really hands on with their network on that.
Absolutely. Isaac has been a fabulous, fabulous partner to Gifted Travel Network. And they're our number one travel insurance partner. And he's right. I mean, our founders, Vanessa McGovern, Meredith Hill, and Jennifer Cochran, are all business coaches. And Vanessa came from travel. And Meredith also owned a travel business, a tour operator business to Africa. But Jen came from Federal Reserve, so she didn't have that travel background. But at their core, they're all business coaches, and we do definitely bring that mindset to what we do and how we work with our people, because we want them to be as successful as possible.
We also had someone asking if you can share the link to the travel agent guide again. They're getting an error on the web address.
Yes, it should be. Oh, and I can check that and post it for you. But it should be travelagentsguide.com. Let me go back to that.
Yeah, let me
just make sure I got it right. Yeah, it should be travelagentsguide.com.
I'm getting an error too. I just went to it.
Well, I tell you what, if anybody wants it, they can email us at joinus@giftedtravelnetwork.com. Let me go back to that slide with that email address, and I'll be happy to send it to you. So join us at giftedtravelnetwork.com. And I'm sorry about that error on the slide.
Perfect. Thanks, Sandy. And then we have another question from Jel. And I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. If we're already a part of another host agency, can they still partake in the Travel MBA program?
No, actually, well, you could, because you could be dual hosted, and you certainly can be hosted with more than one. No host can keep you from being dual hosted. Now, you can't be with more than one virtuoso host, and that's a virtuoso restriction. And franchises are a completely different thing. You can't be with more than one franchise, but you can be with more than one host. Ideally, we would want you to do the Travel MBA program and then continue to host with us, because that program is designed specifically to work best in our environment. But if you do the Travel MBA program and you get to the end of it and you like your other host better, then you can go back to continue with your other host. We're not ever going to try to keep somebody staying with us if that's not where they ideally want to be.
That makes sense. I was going to ask, and I know this might be hard to answer, but for people that are going through the Travel MBA program, what's the average time for them from like idea to actual launch of their agency with you?
We try to get people, it is a little bit hard to answer, because some people all human beings are different. Some people are faster decision makers than others. Some people agonize more over that, but we really try to get people to make those decisions and get through that first process in the first 2 to 3 months. So some people do it a lot faster than that. Some people in the first 2 weeks, they have a really good idea of what they want to do, and want to schedule their one-on-one coaching call with Meredith Hill to do their what we call nail your niche, where you really get very clear about who you're going to serve and what your core compelling message is. So they want to schedule that right away. But I would say probably around 2 months is probably pretty average.
Okay. And we'll take this last question. We have one from Malik. And Malik, I'm not sure if I'm going to get this correctly on here, if we're going to answer it correctly, but if not, you can always email the join us at giftedtravelnetwork.com. So Malik is wondering, I think, is the Travel MBA program through online classes, and do you get a degree?
So you don't get a degree. We're not accredited with any organization, any university or college. It is a program that we created, so it's a training program. We do have online modules, and then the modules are complemented by the twice a week coaching calls that the mentor hosts. So you have the modules, and we have people start in a cohort so that they are together and learning at the same time. And our next cohort starts in May, so just in a couple of weeks. And so you move through those modules together, at your own pace, of course. You're listening to the modules, you're calling in the coaching calls, you're moving along the process. But at the end, you don't get a degree from any sort of higher education organization.
And so it's all online. There's no
Yes. So
in-person.
all the courses are online. We do offer in person get-togethers a couple of times a year, but those are not mandatory. But they are designed because we do have agents all over the country, and we have people enrolled right now from from Washington State to Florida and the Northeast to the Southwest and everywhere in between. And so you have everything is online. You have your own portal. You go in, you watch the videos, you download resources and handouts, and then you call in to coaching calls, which are conducted via conference call and via Zoom, depending on the call.
Perfect. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. And Sandy, thank you so much for taking the time to do this presentation today. If people have questions for Sandy, you have the email where you can reach her at. If you have questions for us, feel free to reach out at hello@hostagencyreviews.com or drop us a line on social. So I know it's a
Awesome.
tough time in the industry right now, everybody, but we're going to make it through it. Everything
Absolutely.
It's going to be different at the end of it, but we're all in this together. So thank you for joining us and have a great rest of your week, everyone.
All right.